Even though it is proper under Marbury and its progeny for an Article 3 court to hear criminal charges brought against a former president, we necessarily must weigh concerns of public policy, especially as illuminated by our history and structure of our government, including our constitutional heritage and structure. This inquiry involves policies and principles that may be considered implicit in the nature of the president's office in a system structured to achieve effective government under a constitutionally mandated separation of powers. Our analysis entails balancing the constitutional weight of the interest to be served against the dangers of intrusion on the authority and functions of the executive branch. It's a broad ruling. And it's masterful. Court's not just talking about this particular case, but also about the executive branch and the broad principles of separation of powers that ties everything together. We note at the outset that our analysis is specific to the case before us, in which a former president has been indicted on federal criminal charges arising from his alleged conspiracy to overturn federal election results and unlawfully overstay his presidential term. We consider the policy concerns at issue in this case in two respects. First, we assess the possible intrusions on the authority and functions of the executive branch and the countervailing interests to be served as those concerns apply to former President Trump's claim that former presidents are categorically immune from federal prosecution. We conclude that the interest in criminal accountability held by both the public and the executive branch outweighs the potential risks of chilling presidential action and permitting vexatious litigation. So what we talked about before, right before I read this bit, about the balancing of the interests of the Constitution and the dangers of intrusion to the executive branch. Second, we examine the additional interests raised by the nature of the charges in the indictment. The executive branch's interest in upholding presidential elections and vesting power in a new president under the Constitution, and the voters' interest in democratically selecting their president. We find these interests compel the conclusion that former President Trump is not immune from prosecution under the indictment. So the additional policy interest here is the interest of upholding presidential elections, vesting power in the new president, and the voters' interest in democratically selecting their president.